What's up everybody, in this video I'm going to talk about if the Sony a7 IV is a good investment or not. Should you skip it or you should move forward and buy it? The big question, is this camera worth 2,900 euros? Let's find out. Nowadays I have a few questions before I buy a new camera or actually any gear. The first thing you have to ask, do you buy this camera for a hobby and you just want to buy it, test it and shoot photos with it or video? Or actually you are buying it from a business perspective? I think this is the very important question you should ask yourself before you buy any gear. Before we talk about any specs of the camera, why I decided to buy it and if in my opinion is a good investment, I would talk about the ROI, which is a return on investment. Basically, if I were to use this camera for 5 years and this costs 2,900 euros, it cost me roughly 580 euros per year before I break even with this camera. If you have already owned a camera before, you potentially sell that camera, you can deduct that amount of money from this 2,900. So in that case, your investment or extra investment would be a little bit lower. Upgrading from an a7 IV to an a7 V makes sense or not? Personally, what I realized in 2025, mainly, many of my clients, I already had the ceiling, what I could charge them, and my clients needed more photography services as well, not just video, or maybe they deducted some budget from the video perspective and then they wanted to allocate more for photography. I saw some shift in the market, especially in Europe. So when I had to make a decision whether I shoot photography for some of the clients or I shoot some TikTok content, I would rather shoot some photos. So to be honest, I started as a photographer. Later on, I switched to videography for 5-6 years roughly. I haven't shot any photos. And the end of 2025, I felt like, it would be really great to come back to photography and just kind of mix it up. Now, a really good thing about this camera, it's also the same applies for the a7 IV as well, more or less. But you can truly customize it. So you can make this beast a perfect hybrid camera. It's because you have all the custom dials and custom buttons. So you could pretty much control this camera without touching the screen or doing anything in the menu. And I think that's really beneficial because most of the run and gun situations, I just want to shoot. I don't want to search anything in the menu too much. I would rather just adjust things on the camera and I can at the same time have an eye contact with the client, talk to the client and just be, a better representation of my brand, myself and my company. I have created a full step-by-step guide how to customize this camera. So if you want, there is a link below, just click on that and you can watch it. Now, because this camera is not cropping in at 50 frames per second and for videography I use 50 frames per second quite a lot, this camera could replace at the moment 2 of my existing cameras. So I can replace my ZV-1 and I could replace my C2 as well, which I was using mainly for photography. I had many situations where I had to shoot mainly video and then the client was asking if you could shoot 10-15 photos, as an extra on top of it. And there are some key features in this camera, just like the dual SD card, not necessarily for dual recording, but just to hold an extra spare SD card here in case you need to swap or for some reason. You don't have to keep it in your pocket. I think that's a really good feature in these cameras as well. Now, this camera has a pre-shooting feature, which is also very useful, especially when you are shooting events and let's say there is like a handshake. And usually handshaking is really difficult to capture. Because sometimes it's just unexpected. So by the time you grab the camera and you shoot, it's done. And with the pre-shooting feature, you can actually even capture that as well, which is really beneficial. Especially if you have to swap between photo and videography, then it could be very useful. The screen got big update from previous models, from the a7 IV. This screen, you can rotate it into every single angle. I usually use it like this. If I shoot horizontal, and I keep the camera like this and I can just hold it close to my body. I really like that way. So having a full-size HDMI is something that is useful to have, to be honest. It's not like I need all the time, but on a ZV-1 I always needed an adapter to just in case, if I forgot the adapter and I had to hook it up for streaming or something, then I ended up in a difficult situation. So it's good to have a full-size HDMI just in case. To me, the most important is to have 1, 2, 3 and 4 dials. So with these dials, I can easily adjust ISO, aperture, shutter, and the Kelvin as well. Especially for videography, this is really handy. So you don't have to do anything, and I can record on this button as well. So pretty much I can do everything and not touching the screen, which is really, really good. Now this camera became a true hybrid camera compared to the A7 IV. The fact that this camera is not cropping at 50 frames per sec, that's really, really good. You need to set this up. By default, the camera is cropping in, I think around 20%. You can turn that off and then it won't crop in anymore. It got improved with the in-body stabilization as well, which could allow me, for instance, with the 16mm, I can turn it into active stabilization and then pretty much I could walk and it feels like I'm on a gimbal. So with a wide angle lens, I'm not saying you don't need a gimbal, but in certain situations, you could get away without a gimbal, which is, I think, again, very handy, especially if you shoot events, because you're not gonna always have the gimbal, especially if I shoot photo and video. So it's just good to have the gimbal as an option, but also you have some solution in situations where you don't have the gimbal with you. I would say if videography is important to you, I would rather buy this camera than the A7 IV. I think the A7 IV with the cropping, I'm not saying it's impossible, you could have your workaround, but at the end of the day, I think all the features packed in this camera, and plus it's not gonna crop in, I think that's just worth itself. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. If you got some value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps a lot to grow the channel. If you have any questions regarding this camera, leave a comment below. I will gladly answer and try to help you out with any questions. See you in the next one.